Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your August 2017 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So I think this is going to be an amazing month for Sagittarians, myself included, because there are a lot of planets either in Leo or going into Leo. We've already had a new moon in July in Leo, and the sun is in Leo as the month begins, and actually coming up around the same time as that new moon in late July. And Leo is a fellow fire sign. So I dug up my Jane Spiller book on new moon intentions, and she has this thing, what to wish for when the new moon is in Leo. Now, just to kind of give you a recap here, this is no ordinary new moon. This is a new moon on steroids, otherwise known as a solar eclipse. You've probably heard of about this already. And so this solar eclipse is on August 21st. And this is going to happen while we're having a Mercury retrograde. So we have a new moon during a Mercury retrograde. I feel because of this that the new beginnings that you may feel like doing will be more fruitful if you can wait until a month later, when not only Mercury goes direct, which it does on the 5th of September, but it's going to be still in its shadow until close, I think it's like right around the time of the new moon in Virgo on the 20th. Okay. And then we have the equinox a couple of days later. What's it called? I always say vernal equinox, but the fall equinox. Okay. And I suppose in Australia they call it the spring equinox, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So that is a very change agent time too in that third week of September. And that may be, right before that may be a better time to put your plans into action. But with these eclipses, like there's going to be also a lunar eclipse on August 7th, and this is in Sag's third house of communications, okay? So any kind of internet thing. And this is also, I was going to say exacerbated, but that sounds bad. This is also enhanced in terms of electronics by the fact that Uranus rules that kind of thing as well. So you have Uranus in the communication sector. So really good time to deal with something related to the internet. Of course, this is a full moon, so this is more of I would say it's something that either comes to some fruition or it comes to your attention. Perhaps if you've been having a blog and you haven't seen much progress, all of a sudden you have all these new subscribers or something like that. Of course, there are going to be people who find that something they've been doing just kind of leaves them. And that's what I'm trying to convey here, is that it's comings and goings. It's not necessarily you controlling this for the most part. And this is why eclipse months like August are times to really practice being in the present moment and not necessarily trying to anticipate the future, because a lot of things may be up in the air. But that's what I'm trying to say about this new moon too, is that things may opportunities may drop in your lap, in the sense that with the Mercury retrograde, perhaps they were things that you have already dealt with in the past and they're kind of coming up for review. And you tweak something and it just totally takes. You know, sometimes people launch things and they don't quite gel, or, you know, it doesn't catch on with the public, or whatever you want to see it as, and then you make a few adjustments, and then all of a sudden you're off to the races. So I think this could be really good, actually, that we're in a Mercury retrograde during this eclipse, because I think of eclipses as so dramatic in terms of what they can take away, but also what they can bring in. So do not think that eclipses are just like totally about upheaval and not about anything positive, because they could really change your life, be these amazing change agents in a good way. So Jane Spiller, I hope I didn't say Spillman, her name is Spiller, and she passed, I guess, last summer. She was an astrologer. She said this is what to wish for when the new moon is in Leo: love and romance, creativity, generosity, celebration and play, fun, dignity, determination, and tempering arrogance. And so those are all fifth house. I wouldn't say tempering arrogance is fifth house, but a lot of those are fifth house matters. The fifth house can be about love, so anybody who has, for Sagittarians though, Leo hits our ninth house, and that happens to be our natural house. So all of the Sagittarian things that we associate, the Jupiter things we associate with the ninth house, could be in play for you this month, which has to do with long-distance travel, higher education, your philosophical belief system, legal matters. What else? Publishing, and I think even by extension advertising. I'm not sure. I think advertising, and that's maybe not even an extension, it's just a separate category. But I think that, I was thinking, how does this relate to Sagittarius? Is everybody going to just be traveling? Well, I think Sagittarians are going to be expanding their mindset and their philosophy in some way. And because these transits are occurring in our natural house, the house that we rule, I think it gives them an extra significance. And you could even say perhaps Sagittarians are extra lucky during this August time period. So let's just break it down. We have the Sun in the 8th house for most of the month until the 22nd. Goes into Leo, we're into that 9th house. So let me talk about the 8th house, because Venus is also going to be in the 8th house until the 26th of the month. The 8th house is Scorpio's natural house. It's a water house, therefore. It's emotional in nature, psychic in nature, dealing with stuff that's below the surface. So any kind of secrets that are to be revealed, any kind of intimacy issues. This includes sexuality, but also emotional intimacy. And the occult, astrology, the tarot, reincarnation. I'm talking about the study. You could say the 12th house is about past lives, but the 8th house is about exploring the mysteries of such issues. Not about actually, accessing your past lives, but kind of like saying, okay, the mysteries of life. Why, what happens after death? Because a lot of times the 8th house is reduced to sex, death, and other people's money, which I think is a pretty concise way of looking at it, but intimacy. So with your Sun there, you may actually be more retiring for most of the month, where you prefer to kind of keep to yourself and maybe research or even meditate, things like that. You may not be as gregarious as you typically are, and then you come to life towards the end of the month. And also, I wanted to talk about this because there's, Venus is going to be there too. Now, Venus in the 8th house can be about if you're in a relationship with somebody, and I'm talking about like a committed relationship. Even if you're dating, I guess this could happen. You really can connect deeply with your partner. And this can be very helpful because Mars was in this sector and it was in the 7th house before that. And so there may have been a period of time a few months ago where there was conflict within your partnership. And now things are being smoothed out. And not only that, but you're getting deeper with one another. You're not just living on the surface of life. And that could really bond you to your partner. And this is happening for most of the month. And then Venus goes in your 9th house. And this could, for some people that are not partnered, you can meet somebody on your travels. You can meet somebody from a totally different culture, a racial difference than you. And what this means ultimately, it's not just about, I met this person and they're, I'm British and they're from Vietnam. I mean, that's kind of when people think like that and they think, I'm dating somebody, I'm white and somebody else is black. Sometimes those kind of relationships are happening as a rebellion if you had, racist parents or something like that. That is not necessarily really connecting with somebody and transcending these issues, because that's the ultimate beautiful thing. When you're still consciously aware of, I'm this race or this culture and they're that culture or that race, and you treat people like that, even if you treat them well, it still is a form of otherizing them. And I am not a social justice warrior by any stretch of the imagination, and I think a lot of that is actually quite destructive. But I do believe that learning about other cultures is only an enhancement in life, but not being forced to, but wanting to, having a genuine desire to interact with people from a different way of life. But ultimately, the best possible outcome is seeing the unity, not by seeing the differences. And yet, you can't ignore differences. They exist. The really cool, enlightened person to me is a person that can straddle those two things, that can see and acknowledge how things are different, and is not the people that are not uncomfortable with differences, but by the same token, don't think that those differences are unbridgeable. So you may be engaged in that, in some kind of a relationship that really stretches you quite a bit. And Mars is going to be in this sector all month long. So some of you may physically be roaming around like a gypsy around the world. And, I'm even afraid to say the word gypsy. I don't even know if that's considered politically incorrect these days. I just think it's such a beautiful word, the connotation of it. But you know what I'm talking about, a nomad. Because Mars is very active, and in the 9th house, we have all that stuff happening. But it could be all in your mind that you're traveling. Definitely. But here's where I think it gets really interesting. I'm just going to talk about the Mercury retrograde for a brief second, because Mercury, when it does go retrograde on the 12th, it's going to be in Virgo, believe it or not. And so it's kind of like leading the pack before these other planets, which are still in Leo, or in some cases even Cancer on the 12th. And it's going to be in your career sector. And then on the last day of the month, it actually dips back into Leo. And so when you have that 10th house going back to the 9th house, it, to me, is a career review where you're kind of matching up your values with the career path that you have decided to go on. And this is always very good, because the last thing you want to do is invest all this time and energy in something that may not speak to your highest purpose. Because I would also say that the 9th house is, even if it's legalities, on a higher octave, that would be it being morals, okay? Your ethics. So how does your career choice jibe with your ethics? This is a very big question. And I think that especially for a lot of younger people at this time who have graduated from college, they may be in for a rude awakening as they look for a job and they see the offerings out there for college grads. And some of them, what they're being asked to work for, they may say, wait a second, I don't know if this is really what it's cracked up to be. And I'll just leave it at that, but I'm thinking of something specifically that I noticed. And it's very important, like if you're working and promoting somebody else's agenda, that you really know what it's all about. Let's put it that way. Because there are a lot of people who seem to have jobs on social media where they are promoting things. And I wonder if they really are connected to what they're promoting, or they're just like desperate for a job. So I think some of you may kind of know what I'm talking about, especially since the 3rd house is activated in this. So this could be people who work on the internet, and then they're like, maybe something comes to light about something that you're doing where you're working for somebody else online, and you go, whoa, wait a second, whoa. I'm actually promoting somebody's agenda, and it's not really that very good after all. And the North Node, this is what really seals the deal here, you guys. That is going to be in the 9th house in Leo for the next 18 months. So it really is about honoring yourself, but it's also about honoring yourself in the framework of your life path, okay? And so for those of you who are in relationships that are toxic, really heed those words, because one of the words that I read to you, or keywords, was dignity in terms of Leo. And when you're in a relationship that is demeaning, where you allow yourself to be demeaned within that relationship, not only does that tear down your dignity, but it can impede your sense of whatever your life path is, your soul's purpose. And that is your natal North Node. This is the transiting North Node. And that is going to be there. It's really a cool intersection, because Sagittarius rules that 9th house, to have the North Node there. I think of that thing, the finger of God, the Yod, you know. That almost seems like this thing that is a moment in destiny, or whatever you want to call it. And in addition to this, I would also ask you to consider, if you are a writer, think about your writing. Perhaps you kind of talk yourself out of it. Sagittarians are natural writers. And so this is something to consider in the next year and a half, is, do you want to publish a book? Have you always dreamed of doing so? Hey, baby, just go for it. Because you can even self-publish these days. You don't have to wait around for somebody to decide whether or not it's good enough. But definitely hone your skills if you think that you need some improvements. But it's just really calling to you right now, I would say, with the North Node in that 9th house, and the 9th house being publishing. And same with traveling. If you have dreamed of just taking a year off and you have the resources to do so, you might want to just go to a specific place that you've have dreamed of going to, because you never know what could occur there. You could find the love of your life, your soulmate there. You could have a mystical experience that sets you on a whole new course. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost getting chills here, okay? So I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to let you guys know what was in the cards, pardon the pun, for all of us as Sagittarians. And I should have said this is also for Sagittarius rising. I always forget to do that, because normally I would say the bulk of my readings on YouTube are tarot readings, but astrology is my first love, and I tend to incorporate astrology in most of my readings. So definitely, and I'm talking about my private readings, but it's been a pleasure giving you this information if you'd like a private reading. And right now I'm promoting with this set of readings my natal chart interpretations on sale, an hour long. And you can check me out at ReinaMoonAstrology.com. The link is below. God bless you guys, and on to August. Bye.